In the world of grand theft, not all heists are carried out with guns and masks. Some, in fact, involve a computer, a devious mind, and an astonishing $3.5 billion. Welcome to a tale that seems more fiction than fact, a story that unfolds not beneath the dimly lit streets of some crime-ridden city, but within the digital highways of cyberspace. This is the story of Jimmy Jong, a man as ordinary as you or I, yet capable of an extraordinary feat of criminal ingenuity. Jimmy Jong didn't need a gun to pull off his heist. He didn't need a getaway car or a crew of hardened criminals. All he needed was a computer and a brilliant mind. But don't be fooled. This was no simple feat of hacking or a clever manipulation of digital currencies. This was a heist on a scale that boggles the mind, a theft of an astounding $3.5 billion. Yet who was this Jimmy Jong? A notorious online criminal, a disgruntled employee, a genius turned rogue? No, he was just an ordinary man living in the state of Georgia, a man who, by all appearances, led a simple life. But beneath this facade of normalcy lay a mind capable of conceiving and executing one of the greatest digital thefts in history. His tools weren't lockpicks or explosives, but codes and algorithms. His battleground wasn't a vault or a bank, but the endless expanse of the internet. And his loot wasn't stacks of cash or priceless jewels, but digital figures amounting to billions. He had managed to pull off a heist that would make even the most seasoned criminals green with envy. All of this without ever stepping foot outside his home. And just when you think the story couldn't get any more intriguing, it does. Because Jimmy Jong lost all of it in one phone call. Who's Jimmy Jong, you may ask? Well, he's not your typical villain. He's the name behind an unthinkable theft that stunned the world, a genius mind that turned to the dark side. But let's rewind a bit to understand the man behind the crime. Jimmy Jong, a seemingly ordinary man, was born and raised in the heart of Georgia. His life on the surface was as normal as could be. A family man, he was known for his friendly demeanor and a calm, thoughtful nature. But beneath this ordinary facade, Jimmy harbored an extraordinary intellect. Possessing a sharp mind and a knack for problem solving, Jimmy was a whiz at mathematics. It was this genius, coupled with an insatiable curiosity, that led him down an uncharted path. He was a master manipulator, a craftsman of deception, able to weave intricate webs of lies and half-truths that could fool even the most discerning minds. This was a man who could make the impossible possible, and he used this skill to orchestrate the theft of a lifetime. Jimmy was no stranger to the digital world, and he utilized his knowledge to exploit the weaknesses of an unprepared system. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a hidden threat lurking beneath the veneer of an average Joe, and he harnessed this anonymity to his advantage. But Jimmy was not just a thief. He was a puppet master, controlling every aspect of his grand scheme. He was meticulous, leaving no stone unturned, no loophole unexplored. His planning was so precise, so flawless, that he managed to pull off a heist worth $3.5 billion, right under everyone's noses. Yet this was not a man driven by greed or a thirst for riches. Jimmy Jong was driven by the thrill of the chase, by the sheer joy of outsmarting the system. He was a mastermind who reveled in the complexity of his crime, in the artistry of his deception. But what was the heist, and how did it go down? That's where the story gets even more interesting. Stealing $3.5 billion is no small feat, and it wasn't done overnight. Our man, Jimmy Jong, was no ordinary thief. He was a mastermind, a virtuoso of villainy who used his wits and knowledge to meticulously plan and execute one of the largest heists in history. This was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but rather a carefully calculated endeavor that required extensive planning, patience, and precision. Jong was well aware that such a colossal amount of money couldn't just be swiped from under the noses of the unsuspecting. He needed a plan, a strategy that would allow him to exploit the vulnerabilities of the system without arousing suspicion. His knowledge of the financial world, coupled with his cunning mind, allowed him to devise a strategy that was as audacious as it was ingenious. He started by identifying his target, a financial institution that had the necessary funds but lacked the sophisticated security measures required to protect them. Then, he began studying the system, understanding its weaknesses, and planning his approach. Every little detail was taken into account, from the timing of the heist to the getaway plan. With his plan set, Zhong began to execute it. He navigated the complex web of the financial institution with the precision of a seasoned hacker, exploiting every loophole and bypassing every security measure with ease. He manipulated the system, making it dance to his tunes until he had all $3.5 billion in his possession. The heist was a success. No alarms were triggered, no suspicions were raised. It was as if the money had simply vanished into thin air. Zhong had pulled off the perfect crime, or so he thought. The thrill of the heist, the adrenaline rush of outsmarting the system, the satisfaction of seeing his plan come to fruition, all of it was intoxicating. He had the world at his feet, and he was ready to enjoy the spoils of his daring endeavor. With the money in his possession, Zhong thought he was in the clear, but fate had other plans. Sometimes it's the smallest things that can bring down the biggest plans. Picture this: Jimmy Zhong, the mastermind behind the theft of $3.5 billion, sitting pretty, thinking he's gotten away with it. That is, until an unexpected phone call came knocking on his door, shattering his illusion of invincibility. You see, there's a certain irony in the world of crime. The bigger the scheme, the more intricate the web woven, the more chances there are for something to go awry. And for our dear Jimmy, it was a simple phone call that turned out to be his Achilles heel. Now you might be wondering, what could this phone call have possibly entailed? Who was on the other end? Was it the authorities, a betrayed accomplice, or simply a case of mistaken identity? Well, as fate would have it, it was a bit of all three. A disgruntled accomplice, feeling shortchanged and vengeful, tipped off the authorities about Jimmy's grand scheme. And in a twist straight out of a Hollywood movie, the authorities decided to play along, setting up a trap for our unsuspecting thief. They posed as a potential buyer for some of the stolen loot, luring Jimmy into a trap he never saw coming. The phone call was the bait, and Jimmy, blinded by his hubris, walked right into it. The immediate aftermath was nothing short of dramatic. The authorities swooped in, the stolen money was seized, and our mastermind found himself in handcuffs, his dreams of a luxurious life built on ill-gotten wealth crumbling around him. And just like that, Zhong lost everything. His empire, built on deceit and theft, came crashing down, all because of one phone call. But what did we learn from this extraordinary story? Well, my friends, that's a question to ponder on as we delve deeper into the lessons learned from Jimmy Zhong's audacious heist. Every story, no matter how unbelievable, has lessons to teach. And our tale of Jimmy Zhong, the mastermind who orchestrated a theft of $3.5 billion, is no different. In reviewing this narrative, we see the dangerous allure of greed writ large. It's easy to imagine that with billions at your fingertips, you could live a life of unprecedented luxury. However, Jimmy's story serves as a sobering reminder that unchecked greed often leads to downfall. It blinds us, making us reckless and arrogant, as we saw with Jimmy's fateful phone call. This incident also underscores the critical importance of security in our increasingly digital age. As technology advances, so too do the methods of those who seek to exploit it. Cybercrime, once the stuff of science fiction, is now a grim reality. This case highlights how crucial it is to safeguard our digital assets, be it personal information or vast sums of money. Security measures, no matter how seemingly robust, should never be taken for granted. Another takeaway from this saga is the stark reminder that crime does not pay in the long run. Jimmy may have enjoyed a fleeting moment of triumph, but it was quickly overshadowed by the consequences of his actions. No matter how clever or cunning, criminals ultimately face the music. Lastly, we learn that no one is truly invincible. Despite Jimmy's careful planning and cunning, his plot was undone by a simple phone call. It's a stark reminder of the unpredictability of life and the fact that even the best-laid plans can go awry. Jimmy Zhong's story is a stark reminder that in the world of crime, no one is truly invincible. Even a $3.5 billion theft can come crashing down from something as simple as a phone call. So, let's learn from Jimmy's story, and remember, the lure of quick fortune is often a path to quick ruin.